Hi, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about doing a little spring cleaning, even though it is actually July. What I'm decided I'm going to do is I'm going to send out these reminders as much for everybody else as much as for me to go ahead and clean out your computer once a quarter. What I have found is that over time, our computers do slow down because we use up more disk space, we wear them out, there's more random things in them, and it just slows down our actual design process when we have to stop everything and do tech service. So what I wanted to do is do 4 quick tips about how I go about cleaning out the computer, getting it ready for the next quarter or the next, let's be honest, the next like 6 months or year. But it's important because it does make a difference. So the very first thing I want to remind you, because we are designers, to go ahead and clean out your Adobe apps. Now, how does that work? Adobe CC now works with Adobe Creative Cloud, like the installer window. It's that super narrow window. It's usually got like a little screen or a hero at the top, and then it has all the apps, all 5 million of them listed out. What I want you to do is open that up and then go through and just uninstall the stuff that you do not use on a daily basis. Now, on a daily basis for me, I use Photoshop and I use Illustrator. I use InDesign when I have to. It's probably because print isn't as prolific as it used to be. I probably end up using it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year, something like that. For me, it is not an everyday necessity because I'm so focused in the web world, right? So what I do is I uninstall it when I don't use it. And then I go back and I install it. It takes maybe 5 minutes to uninstall and then 5 minutes to install. And you don't lose your files. You don't lose your file associations. You don't lose any of that. It just takes it off your computer so you free up that hard disk space. And that's kind of the goal for today is you want to get rid of the stuff so you extend the life of your computer so that you don't get frustrated because all the space is getting used up. So that brings us to the next problem. I want you to go through and uninstall all the other apps that you don't use. For example, when I went through and did this yesterday, I found out that I had Evernote installed on my computer, which makes perfect sense. I use Evernote, or I did. I just switched over to Google Docs, but that's a whole other video. But what I found is that I had the app Evernote installed. I had like a desktop regular app. Like I had the Microsoft Store app, I had a regular app, and then I had the web version, like evernote.com version. I was really only using the web version, and I don't know why. It wasn't like it was easier, but I had these other 2 apps installed. So I just uninstalled the apps and freed up space. It wasn't a gigantic amount of space, but it made a difference and it cleaned out. It made things easy, my process easier, it made it streamlined. So if I ever think about Evernote, there's no chance of me going to the app now because it's gone. That kind of thing. It just setting myself up for an easier workflow. But there's other stuff that you install on your computer, things that you think are going to make life easier or something that's been sold to you, that kind of thing, that you just don't use. So that's what I want you to think about. Just open up your program, and on Windows, I'm not sure what it is on Mac, but on Windows, it's your program list, and then just go through and uninstall all the stuff you don't think you've used, games that you installed that you haven't played in years. I mean, that kind of thing. Just go on ahead and uninstall it all. You'll be surprised what you find. I mean, I had stuff installed from years ago. So it was a huge thing to uninstall all that stuff. Like I even had World of Warcraft still installed on the computer. I haven't played World of Warcraft in like 3 years. So installing it was like something like 3 or 4 gigabytes of memory. I mean, it was huge. It was a massive amount of space. So also, you want to look at what you, when you uninstall stuff, it usually will give you the option whether or not you want to save if you want to mess with your files or not. You make that call as you go through and do each one. Typically, if your files are installed, if your files are installed somewhere else, like you have them in a documents folder, uninstalling the app is just going to make the file confused. If you ever go to open it, it's not going to know where to go because there's no more app for it. Reinstall the app, boom, it'll work. I mean, it's that simple. So the next thing, you want to unsync your Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, whatever it is that you use for your backup storage. And then what do I say unsync? Make sure that when you do this, you're keeping the file on the cloud, wherever that may be. but you are deleting it off of your local machine. I had, for whatever reason, files from the last 5-6 years synced to my computer because I wanted instant access when I set it up. Most of those files I haven't touched, but if I have them on the cloud, then I could just go get them, no problem. But having them locally wasn't doing me any good except using up my hard drive space. I have a huge hard drive, but I'm still using up most of it. So by unsyncing that stuff and then deleting it, I freed up so much space because design files, let's face it, are huge. So getting rid of the stuff that you have a duplicate of somewhere else is going to help you out. And finally, and this one is probably the most impossible one, try to get to inbox zero. And the reason I say that is because I want you to throw out all the stuff, like trash, all the emails that you don't think you're going to use, stuff with attachments especially. The reason I say that is because once you get done going to inbox zero, empty out your trash can if you feel comfortable doing it. A lot of people are afraid, myself included. I have a resource folder that's kind of like a saved items folder. I saved everything in there, and anytime I need to search for something, I just do a search on that folder and it brings up everything. It's wonderful. But there's a lot of spam that goes in my trash folder, and then I never delete my trash folder or delete the contents of it. So it starts piling up and it kind of gets kind of big, you know? So maybe not several gigabytes worth, but at least like hundreds of megabytes, you know? So it's not small. So if I can go and delete it, that leads me to the second to last thing. I know you can do this on a Mac, but I don't remember how. On a PC, I want you to run Windows defrag. What it does is that when your hard drive's saving stuff to, depending on what type of hard drive you have, I mean, the solid state's a little different now, but what you want to do, what it does is when it saves stuff, it saves it in different spots. So when you defrag your hard drive, it puts all those different spots into one straight line so that when it goes to read that file, it can retrieve it faster. Now we're way past when defragging probably really, really mattered. Cat's trying to make a cameo here. Go on, there we go. But it's still, all your information is still scattered all over the place on your hard drive. So running the defrag will kind of make your information more accessible, easier to accessible. And since you just deleted all this stuff, you're going to have huge gaps in your information, the way that your hard drive looks. So by defragging it, you're putting it all back in a straight line. Now, that brings us to probably the most important thing, is that now that you have done all this work and gotten rid of all these apps, you're going to want to run your security software. And I'm talking about the full scan. I have Norton's, and I've always liked Norton's. I've heard there's other ones out there that are pretty good too. But Norton's is the one that I've always felt most comfortable with, mostly because I can see the reports. It's very visual. I'm a very visual person. It works for me. So I run the full scan where it goes through and just checks everything. I mean, and it takes hours. So I'll wait until the end of the day when I'm getting ready to turn the computer off, or I don't usually turn my computer off anymore, but log out of it. I don't log out. I run this scan instead, come in the next morning, everything's ready to go. The scan's been done. Any problems have been fixed. If something has been quarantined, I can deal with it. And my computer is good to go till the next time I've got to declutter, and it's a big mess. So that's it. Those 4 things, and there's probably more than 4 things if you break it down, but it's going to get you where you need to be to have a good running computer that's going to be a great designing environment, because your computer will open files faster. It will save things quicker. It's just going to be a more pleasant experience. So that's it. If you have any questions or suggestions on different kinds of software that you can run scans or other processes you can do to make your designing environment better for you, let me know, especially with peripherals like Wacom tablets or just other things that might make things a smoother idea. So I think that's it. Okay, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good one. It's 4th of July tomorrow, so if this is coming out to you on 4th of July, happy 4th. I'll talk to you later. Bye.